Amazon workers in Staten Island, New York, voted to unionize on Friday, marking the first successful U.S. organizing effort in the retail giant's history. The union drive was spearheaded by a group of current and former workers. Amazon says it's exploring various legal channels to fight the results. And there are also union victories at some Starbucks locations across the country. And tonight we want to expand the conversation to the broader labor movement. So here to talk with us now about this is Erica Smiley. She is the executive director of Jobs with Justice, and Rita McCurchin. She is a senior attorney at Oakview Law Group. So thank you both for making the time tonight. Erica, I want to start with you since you had a role in the Bessemer unionization effort. How would unionization change the game for companies like Starbucks and Amazon?
Look, it's a really simple thing. I think that this is one of those moments where many working people realize that after a major global pandemic and after being called essential, that it wasn't enough just to get a pat on the back, that they needed to be treated like the essential part of the economy that they've always been. And so I think this idea that now you would have working people, just the everyday folks who run these shops, who generate the profits of so many executives at Starbucks, at Amazon and the like, in decision-making power and in with the ability to enforce those decisions, basically increases not only democracy in that workplace, but really increases safety, health, and I think probably society as a whole.
And Rita, to you, I know you see it differently.
Right. I mean, it does positively affect society in terms of equity and justice, but at the end of the day, it hurts our pockets. So the companies are hurt because on average, union employees are actually paid $14 an hour more than a non-unionized worker. So that will have a domino effect to the consumers eventually, where the products and the services will have to be absorbed with price hikes.
And Erica, I imagine your response to that would be, well, just stop giving the executives such high price hikes and let it trickle down to the workers, that you don't need to pass it on to the consumers.
Both of you couldn't have said it better. I think this idea that the costs have to be passed on to consumers is a myth. It's something that we often hear. A lot of companies like to socialize the risk while privatizing the benefits. And here we have a company, if you look at Amazon in particular, where they raked in almost $20 billion just in the first 3 months of the pandemic in 2020. So of course, that's the argument. They don't have to pass that down to consumers. They can take a little bit less and share the benefits with their employees.
And Rita, what do you think about that? Because there's also an argument on the other side that unions result in strife and confrontations and disagreements, and it might cause strikes and worker stoppages.
Right. I mean, the numbers speak for itself, right? It's certainly not a myth that over time there are going to be union affected prices, both to consumers and to the company. Now, this is also a very legal process. So once negotiations begin, you best believe the companies are going to use legal tactics and to delay the process. According to the National Labor Relations Board, it on average takes 410 days to come to an agreement between the unions and the employees. Now, with Starbucks and Amazon being so large as they are, it will certainly take longer than a year to come to any kind of agreement. But I absolutely understand and empathize and sympathize with these Starbucks and Amazon employees, right? They are the pinnacle of American society today, but it does hurt our pockets.
And Erica, to you, there is a pretty solid argument, right, that it could help workers in the short term, but it could end up hurting the entire company in the long term if the company, if it kills growth, if it hurts financial performance, if the price of a latte goes up and consumers have the choice to go across the street to a non-union shop and pay what they were paying before for a latte.
Well, look, I'm a big proponent that all shops should be union. So the idea of having competition in a non-union shop, I agree. We should increase unionization fully. Here's the thing. These companies have unions around the globe. They just don't have them here. And they have grown perfectly fine. And this idea that it's a long, arduous legal process, I mean, these are human beings. They could easily make decisions faster. They don't have to put in these billions of dollars to fight the union. If they want labor peace, and yes, sometimes unions and employers disagree, and that's normal. Democracy's messy. If this whole country agreed on everything all the time, it wouldn't be a very fun place. But at the same time, that's actually how progress is made, when people come together in dialogue and try to make decisions in the best interest of themselves, of all stakeholders, including the workers. And so I think these are myths that have come down for many, many years, this idea of having to socialize the risks while privatizing the benefits and the select few, as if that's what actually makes a healthy economy and a healthy democracy. It is not. And in fact, the human beings running each of these companies, as well as many others, could actually save themselves a ton of money just by coming to table with workers and negotiating a fair agreement.
And to both of you, I think there are concrete examples of unionized workers exploiting the union, not putting out as much as they maybe should. And on the other side, there are companies that undoubtedly exploited their workers without the union protection. So, Rita, let's go to you. How do you respond to that?
Well, certainly there are humans involved in this process, but at the end of the day, these are companies, these are legal entities. So when it comes down to negotiating better wages, better better working terms, better benefits, that becomes a number game and that becomes a legal game. And when that happens, whoever has the bigger bargaining power will win. Who has a bigger bargaining power here at the end of the day is Starbucks and Amazon, as they have better legal teams. But on the other side, these union workers, which are certainly still legal entities, they're big unionized entities, they're mostly millennials at this point. So it is also becoming a generational movement of viewing things and not taking things as they are anymore, and demanding better terms.
And is that a bad thing, to demand better terms? I mean,
it's certainly not bad.
We probably would not have a 40-hour work week. We probably would not have safety protections in place without unions. There are a lot of examples of working conditions that have improved that just are standards now because of unions.
Absolutely. Unions are actually the entity that pushed for weekends, not working weekends. It depends who you ask, right? If you ask the employees, it's absolutely a better option. If your bargaining power is not as high. If you ask the companies and stakeholders, that becomes probably a no. And it's certainly not a myth. Wages are certainly higher with union workers. There are price increases on the services, on the product. And at the end of the day, over time, it does limit company growth, because it adds a level of bureaucracy where decisions are no longer unilaterally made. So the decision-making is also extended over time.
And Erica, to you, I mean, there are labor laws in place now. This is not the 1940s. This does add a level of bureaucracy. And at the end of the day, the companies have to make money in order to pay their workers.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit of smoke and mirrors. I mean, I appreciate what Rita's saying, but look, the system is not working for most people. And Rita is right on one thing, that the companies have more money, they have more laws to protect them. And so these workers at Amazon and Starbucks have a very steep uphill battle in order to ultimately get to a fairly negotiated collective bargaining agreement. That's why organizations like mine are fighting so hard for the Protect the Right to Organize bill. This is the PRO Act, right? This is the thing that would actually adjust labor laws in a way that actually provides protections to many working people who currently aren't protected. But here's what I want to just to make a fine point of, Ruba. Yes, corporations and unions are legal entities, but they don't get sick when there's a pandemic, right? They don't have to figure out how they're going to feed their families. People do. And that's why unions are important. And it doesn't matter how much bureaucracy there is. It doesn't matter how much process there is. Process in many ways actually is good. It leads to decisions that are better than what one person might have individually thought by themselves. That's actually what makes America great, is the fact that we include the majority of people in decision making when we can. That's actually what unions are about, is building a better democracy in this country. They're the ones, they aren't just fighting for themselves, they aren't just fighting for workers' rights. They're on the front lines trying to save and salvage what's left of American democracy.
Okay, Rita, I want to give you the last word.
Right. It's certainly a sensitive topic, but if you look at it on an emotional lens, it will cloud your analysis. When you step back and look in historically how unionizing has affected both economic outputs by the companies as well as the company's ability to grow and the effects on the consumers, you will see that while it is positive for employees and for equitable terms, it is certainly not positive on the financial end.
All right. Well, Rita and Erica, great conversation. Both of you have completely legitimate points. We appreciate you coming here to make them tonight. Thank you so much.
Glad to be here. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.